Well, Gareth Southgate's looking for a massive reaction to last weekend's disappointing 5-0 thrashing by West Brom. Boro go to Coventry knowing that really the only answer to that sort of performance is to beat their opponents. I think as the season taken as a whole, I think most people would agree that third place after 8 games isn't a complete disaster. In fact, I think most of us would think that's a pretty steady start. It's just the fact that the last result, of course, tips the balance a little bit and makes things look as though they're perhaps worse than what they are. At the end of the day, it's going to be how they react to the West Brom performance. At least there's a few players back in contention for the first team. It looks as though Southgate's going to be able to pick from a fairly full-strength squad. Of course, he's still missing Digard and Pogatetz, who won't travel, but he does welcome back Gary O'Neill. He was massively missed against West Brom, and he'll, of course, come straight back into the midfield for the game against Coventry at the Ricoh Arena. It's now a question of whether or not Southgate shuffles things around a little bit on the back of that last result. He's saying that he's not going to make too many changes, certainly at the back, although one assumes that Sean St Ledger will start alongside David Wheat at the back. I personally didn't agree last weekend with dropping Hines. I thought Boro played that well in the previous 2 matches against Ipswich and particularly Sheffield Wednesday. That Hines should have retained his place, even though he's very inexperienced when compared to someone like Sean St Ledger. However, the manager is paid to make those big decisions, and I think on the day he'd probably admit that the partnership didn't gel as well as he'd like, although the damage was probably done earlier than that when Boro let the 2 early soft goals in. But as I say, I think St Ledger will play alongside Wheat. He would expect Grounds to stay at left back. Whether or not he sticks with McMahon at right back remains to be seen. He had a bit of a torrid time against West Brom's wide man, and he's another person whose place is up for grabs perhaps. Although I'd be sad to see McMahon get dropped. He's had a steady start of the season overall, and we haven't seen a lot from Hoyt in recent months to suggest he would do a better job. Another option may be, of course, to move Williams to right back. He can play at full back on either side and in central defence. And he didn't have the greatest of games, a rare bad game by his standards against West Brom, and that's something that Southgate will want to consider. Does he play O'Neill on the right, perhaps play Archer in the middle with Williams, or does he shake things up a little bit? Of course, Johnson will stay on the left. He's been a crucial player this season, and in his continued form on the left-hand side will be vital to Boro getting back in the battle to win one of those top 2 promotion spots. Up front, of course, you've got Leiter fighting for a place. Ali Adair has been declared fit. He, of course, limped off last week, and he's been in a rich vein of form, probably his richest of his career, to be perfectly honest. And, of course, you've got Caleb Folling wanting to be involved. Emnes, a question mark over Emnes, although we expect him to be fit. So, really, he's got options up front. Although Gareth would probably admit that none of the 4 players he could choose to play up front are prolific strikers. It's going to be again a case of finding a pairing that settles down, and with Follen coming in on loan, he'll probably want to play him and see what he can do from the off. So a few tough decisions for Gareth, but at least he has got options in most positions for the visit to Coventry, and it was just a case of now getting the players' minds fully focused on the job, and somehow bounce back from that West Brom performance and pick up the form they showed so impressively at Sheffield Wednesday and against Ipswich.